Behind every mask there is a face, and behind that face there is a story behind the mask. Welcome back, YouTubers. I'm here today to try and share with you all of autism and masking, a follow on to what I was sharing with you all this morning based on autism and camouflaging, to get a better insight to what I'm talking about and sameness of an understanding and hopefully into the misconceptions of what masking is all about and whatnot. What I'm hoping to cover today is what is masking, the definitions of it, why us autistic females do tend to mask, even though it has been stated that men do obviously mask their feelings or what have you as well, what it may look like, and is masking usually helpful or not helpful in coping with our everyday activities that we go through. I also want to say that if you're new here today, I welcome you all, and I'm hoping that you're enjoying what you're seeing, or you're enjoying basically what you may have heard of me, because obviously I do autism vlogs versus mental health vlogs as an advocate and educator for you all, to hopefully understand my life as an Aspie versus, you know, maybe some others, and just to let you guys know that not all autistics are the same. So into any of these, you know, feel free to subscribe to my channel for future videos, as well as turning on that notification bell, so that can be much appreciated, along with also that will let you know when I'm posting. So let's begin this. So the question to begin this is, what is masking in general? So we often tend to think or talk about, you know, women and girls on the spectrum that usually masks in everyday situations, be it if they're socializing with their peers, they're gossiping and whatnot, or everyday other situations that they may be struggling with, be it, you know, communicating to their peers, some of them might, or another one is maybe they're feeling so anxious at the point of no return that they may have something going on in their life, be it something that is really critical, be it maybe an exam coming up that they're really anxious about, or even it's anxious to the point that they may have been, you know, hurt by somebody in particular. Masking, in a simpler term, just to give you guys the definition here, is the ability to hide your autistic traits with any of the behaviors that is from a neurotypical. Masking is also known for something that is a behavioural process in which an individual may change or mask their natural personality to conform to social pressures, abuse and or harassment, as I mentioned earlier. Some of the examples of masking are a single overlay, dominant temperament or humour, to incongruent temperaments. As you can imagine, in saying this, that if you saw a mask that it's explicit about the comedy of the happy and sad kind of picture that shows in most, you know, drama shows. Also, in saying this though, however, that it is so basically displaying 3 of the 4 main temperaments within the same individual, regardless what they may be feeling, based on their feeling, or shall we say their emotions. Masking can be strongly influenced by the environmental factors such as authoritarian kind of parents, rejection, emotional, physical or sexual abuse. An individual may not even know he or she is wearing a mask, because it is a behavior that can take up on many forms and structure. However, as I said before, in theatre, comedy and that shows these tragedy masks are used to help the actors portray their emotions, similar to how people inside may wear a mask to portray their emotions that are totally acceptable in the norm of how they go about their everyday life with coping. Masking shouldn't be confused, however, with masking behaviours, which is to mentally block feelings of suffering, such as a survival or coping mechanism. The causes of masking will vary from person to person, however, yet that and mild contextual factors, including relationship with one's conversational partner, sex differences, location and social setting, are all reasons as to why an individual would express, suppress or mask these such emotions that they have. Masking is a facet to behave in certain ways that would help one hide their emotions and repress emotions that aren't approved by others around them. Because a person wants to receive acceptance from the public, masking helps disguise characteristics such as anger, jealousy, or rage, emotions that would not consider to be socially acceptable in everyday society. Yet this is something that women and girls on the spectrum, after having a late diagnosis or even just something that they've learned over time when they've watched others that are engaging with conversations, etc. And in saying this, that they have self-taught themselves at a young age to do so. Sometimes also saying this, though, however, that with masking, it is all about hiding our autistic traits and nature from others through applied behaviour analysis or any other interventions that has been put into place to those that may have gone undiagnosed. Learn to do it at a young age, as I just mentioned. Now, masking is what it sounds like, putting on some form of mask or on a method to hide or to cope with everyday things, and we try to fit in and blend in with others along with also trying to act normal like our counterparts of the neurotypicals. Although many of us autistics will try to pretend that we are neurotypicals, and we try to not find our faults or try to hide our traits, because obviously our autistic traits tend to stick out like a sore thumb. We may try to make eye contact, however, like our counterparts of the neurotypicals, and also once in a while, while that's happening, we also engage maybe in small everyday conversations here and there. We certainly don't stim or fidget. We try to contain ourselves, and outwardly it looks like we are trying to appear as if we are just normal everyday humans doing everyday things like everyone else around us. It's been prominently been assumed that more often or not that many young girls and women on the spectrum tend to mask more than autistic males, but then again, autistic males has a good way of, as I said, masking themselves regardless what it may be. The reason for us females, however, as a whole, to why we do this, tend to do it more often or not, is that we may be highly motivated, or it's due to basically society asking too much from us to act a certain way or think a different way and whatnot than our male counterparts. So therefore sometimes it's more everyday pressures for us females to try and be someone who we're not, obviously, because it's pretty demanding out there with society, obviously, and how we should look, act, think and speak, I believe. All day many of us autistic will try to pretend, as I said, we're normal typicals. But then again, also in saying this though, this will mean that for us autistic females, we want to be friends with everybody and anybody, with some people in our social circle if they let us, socialise in social groups, group invites from others, etc. More on this reason, autism and camouflaging obviously will be listed above me in the above, so if you want to see that, you can feel free to do so before continuing on to what I'm illustrating here. Autistic girls and women wants to feel accepted by the groups that they're in, as we know that acceptance is one important part of the behavioural aspect from our developmental stage, etc., along with also being included in the everyday things. We know that sometimes with our autistic traits, however, that we do stand out, like I said, as a sore thumb. We learn more of the NT's characteristics and traits so that we can blend in and forget about our autistic traits usually. What is masking for me as a whole? It plays an important part in my life, along with camouflaging, as I mentioned briefly, and that I'm sure that many autistics will feel this way, one way or another. Sometimes with me, it can be a form of escape from reality of what is really going on around me. Sometimes, other times in life, I felt something wasn't right with me when I was growing up. And I felt it as if I was faulty or broken at one stage in my life. I was always comparing others of the way of how they were living their lives. Thinking how they were living their life compared to mine was the right way. And mine was quite the opposite, living my life the wrong way. Just to bear in mind, while I was young, I was always comparing others of the way of their living, that, as I said, how they look, act and whatnot, not knowing that they, had their own everyday problems in their backyard. So I had to try and find a way to get close to these people, somehow, to at least live my life like theirs somehow as well, and that there will be some form of miracle or success on its own given done right. Just when I was younger, I would just sit and observe, usually silently, everything around me, as well as people to how they would act, speak and think, along with sometimes I ended up watching, some old-fashioned movies that I used to enjoy, like Pollyanna, Sound of Music, Annie, just to name a few. So I started to also sing as I was when younger on a choir back in the days in intermediate to about high school years. Masking as time went on, however, for me, I had a few failures and successes in doing this again, and I felt I just can cope with everything around me while I started to suppress some of my feelings or hide my feelings and emotions. Especially in my late teens when I had been in some relationships, as well as being bullied in my early preteens. Sometimes while I do tend to hide away and mask away my feelings and emotions, that I began to feel isolated, alone, anxious and excluded from my peers, as well as just everyday things that was around me that I could have enjoyed as a young girl. Until where I am today, trying to, fend for myself. Yet at this time when I was transitioning from a young girl to a teenager, it did peak from time to time as I was majorly bullied. However, that led me to have some self-esteem issues and self-worth issues, and that it led to a dangerous path for me that I ended up in a dark hole for a long time, which is obviously depression, which I'll link that storyline in the icon above me so that you can get to know me more as a person. To you again if you want to watch it. Alienation, however, and isolation and trying to make friends was difficult, yet at least there was someone that I could call as a friend and trying to reach out to them, and that was a guy that I thought I could trust despite our everyday differences, even though we have now lost contact. I feel in some ways that with masking, however, with me, it was a great relief and I can just act the way I want to, etc. I tried some experiments onto this and trying to be myself as an autistic as well after being diagnosed, yet that it can be often difficult, as sometimes it is good just to be myself and all in the privacy of my own home and not maybe being out in the real world showing my real self. But I'm starting now to learn to be my real self and accepting of myself. Usually I would stim that may bug others time and time again in the public's eye, or some form of people's, thought patterns on what the hell is she doing. However, I'm trying to make sure that I am in my own autistic environment, and more I can accept me as an autistic now than I did before. I am now trying to learn now that I need to let go of my masks of some everyday situations. So the last question you may be asking is masking a good idea? Well, let's be frank here. We're not living in a world that is ideal for many of us autistics just to be ourselves, and sometimes we still, get these judgmental eyes and judgmental people that comes out on the street attacking us. Sometimes it can be a good thing to be just ourselves, and we need to feel accepted. Again, as I said, acceptance is key. Yet it is unhelpful and helpful at the same time for me as an autistic. So sometimes when it comes to it, that it can be preventing me from having my anxiety attacks, meltdowns and social dramas and any other negative effects that comes around. I am now trying to learn to compromise when I mask it, when I am with people that may not know me. But then again, I just learned to keep on masking just to hope, in the hope of things that people will just not realize what I'm doing, regardless of, people questioning me and challenging me in my everyday, actions and thoughts and whatnot, acting strange, weird or what have you. But then autistic people allowed to be myself and to be me and accept myself as a person as a whole. We autistics obviously have a particular behaviour to cope with, as well as, every other coping mechanisms to cope with, be it stimming, be it masking, be it camouflaging and the like. Everyone has a mask, however, for everyday situations, not just autistics, just bear in mind. I find that the less I repress stimming, the better I am to enjoy and recuperate from some everyday stressful situations. Had I not tried to repress some of these behaviours so much, basically would lead me to the path of a world of hurt, and some of that might have been avoided. But then again, it's just part of everyday life that we get hurt, regardless it's physical, mental, whatever else it may be. There is a calculus to the wager of masking which we build on a lot of unproven assumptions, however, that fitting in or blending in, at least appeasing neurotypical people, will reduce such difficulties of us trying to feel accepted and wanted by our peers. But the reverse can also be the case too, as shame and stress can build up to solidify or hurt us. There is a power in ethnicity, which is the root of our agency. Fixating on social adaptedness has its cost by reducing this agency, reducing our investment in authentic growth. Autistic children should be better prepared for these benefits and costs, and encouraged to decide to their own needs how to act, think and say and do, and not be fully pressured about everyday things that is accepted or not. So this quickly ends basically Autism Asking part 1. Smash the like button, comment below, feel free to follow me on my social medias. Also feel free to, as I said before, subscribe to my channel, as well as also turning on the notification bell so you can not miss any future videos of what I might post up. Feel free to also share these videos around, and also in saying this, for anyone that wants to start up a conversation, link down in the comment section. What do you do about masking? Is masking for you good? You know, is it a bad thing for you? I want to challenge you guys for that sort of thing. And all for the good, guys, thanks for support, thanks for watching, do what you love what you do. Until next time, Aspie signing out, and I'll see you.